Jack Johnson, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Jack, you're back in Australia at Easter again for Bluesfest. When you think back at previous Bluesfests, what are your favourite memories?
Oh, that's a good question. There's quite a few. I mean, when I think in a general way, it's just running into all the artists backstage. I've never lost the thing of feeling like a music fan, So when I see Taj Mahal back there, or if I see whoever it might be, I've so many great artists over the year. This year, I'm really excited to see Elvis Costello. Saw Buddy Guy there once, saw Lee Scratch Perry. And you get to see them at catering, you get to see them when they don't have all the fancy lights on them and stuff, and they're just normal people, or you get to see how people act in real life. And I'm almost always impressed when it's people whose music you really connect with. Most of the time you see they're pretty sweet humans too. And so just getting a chance to see people I look up to so much, either as songwriters or the way they play their instrument. I got to see Santana back there one time, and then to get to be side stage and watch some of those performances is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah. What do you think your set list might consist of by the time you get here? A lot of tracks from Meet the Moonlight, or may you even have new music by then?
I don't think any new music by then. Well, I might have some, but probably nothing that'll be out by then. And so it'll be the newest stuff will be, we put out a record called In Between Dub that were some remixes of old songs and new songs. We sometimes play our stuff a little like that, and when we play live anyways, with like echo pedals and things. So the idea of doing that remix record came from the way that we interpret some of our songs live. We thought it would be fun to have an album like that. But Meet the Moonlight, the way we kind of been working it is a few songs usually from the new record, but we're kind of good at balancing sort of the whole catalog and making sure we play some of the songs that are most exciting and new to us, but also playing songs that maybe people who've come to the show, they have the memories that sometimes span a long time and are really strong. And there's like a direct correlation, I think, to when you play a song and you can feel the energy from the crowd. And there might be some kind of math equation you could do with the more real life experiences people have with that song being in the background, the more they respond to it. I feel really flattered that a lot of times people tell me that they use the song Better Together to get at their during their wedding day. And it's such an honor to know that on such an important moment, people have that song playing. And so you can really feel that when you play that one song in particular, it's got a stronger energy than most every other song I have, I think partly for that reason.
Yeah. Was there a particular song that you used for your wedding day?
Oh, good question. Well, what's so cool is the piano player in my band. We've known each other since we were 18 years old. His name's Zach Gill. And in college, we were friends. We had two different bands in college. We would sometimes play together, but right after college, my wife and I got married pretty shortly after we graduated. And they were our wedding band, the Animal Liberation Orchestra, or ALO. And so when I think back, they played a lot of their originals and they played some covers. And since we were such good friends, we talked about what songs they might play. They played some Otis Redding, they played some Marvin Gaye. I forget now all the songs, but I think of my friend Zach's voice at my wedding playing for us.
Yeah, I'm really loving the In Between Dub album, which, as you said, features some of your classic songs remixed by some of the world's greatest dub mixers, including Lee Scratch Perry, who passed a couple of years ago. How did the album come about?
It was we had been talking to Nightmares on Wax. He became a friend. He opened for us on a Europe tour one time, and so he had been doing some remixes for us. He'd done some in the past too, and the idea came up about Lee Scratch Perry, just thinking, I wonder if he would ever do a remix for us. And we didn't think it was really a possibility. And next thing I knew, my friend reached back out to me and said, yeah, he said, call him tonight. He's in Jamaica, call at 10 o'clock Jamaica time. And so I got to do a Zoom like this with Lee Scratch Perry, which was one of the most surreal things I'd ever done. He was as strange as you kind of hope he would be, and we got off the Zoom and I didn't feel like anything was more clear about the direction of the song, but I didn't care at all. I just kept telling him, whatever you want to do. He was asking some questions about what I wanted to do with it. And he asked if he should put his voice on it. And I said, yeah, if you're just, I kept telling him, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do. I was just honored that he was going to do it. And then his wife was so sweet because she filmed a bunch of it on her phone in the studio and she sent it to me. So I have all these recordings that I just cherish, that we get to see him working on our song in the studio. And a lot of times there's like versions, they went down, they actually, it was nice to know he spent the time to try things that didn't make it. And then he tried another direction. And you could see like the light out. He had the door open in the studio the whole time, and you can see the light getting darker and darker. And then pretty soon it's nighttime and he's still working on it. And so I was just so blessed that he put his voice on the track. And is somebody where I grew up in Hawaii. Reggae is really big, the music's really big here. So he's been on my radar for a long time as sort of a mystical, strange artist that first time I saw him was at actually the Bluesfest backstage, and he had mirrors, like little small mirrors glued to him. And his tour manager told me that he carried a bottle of crazy glue around with him. And anytime he found something reflective, he glued it to himself. And then to try to, I think, to reflect energy off of him, not absorb too much energy or something. And so stories that I heard there, it's really kind of amazing to see somebody approaching the world like that. And it's not some kind of an act, but it's actually the way he was, and to see that backstage and to see him when nobody's looking, really being that person, that artist. He was definitely an artist like few that I've ever seen, his commitment to the art.
Yeah. Meet the Moonlight album was a collaboration with Blake Mills. How different an album is it to what it might have been if it was just left to you and your own thoughts?
Yeah, quite different. I mean, the nice thing with Blake is that his instincts were different enough from my own, but similar enough that that we would find a place that I would still really enjoy hearing the song, but it would be a different direction than I would have taken it myself. But it took a while before that trust was there. The first week we got together, we decided to just get together. We kind of didn't even let the managers and everything. Well, the funny thing is both of us, our best friends are our managers. He has a strange thing too, where my wife and my best friend manage me. And so he has the same thing. And so the funny thing was, we almost had to, they already were talking to stuff, but we had to just sort of say, hey, let's not even tell them really, but let's just get together before they start talking about like a record deal and all that kind of stuff. So like, we just got together and spent a week and just to see how we like working together and everything. And I would say the first couple of days, I was a little bit almost worried. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And later when I told him that, he said, I felt the same thing. So that's good. But eventually we really became great friends. We stay in touch all the time now. And sometimes it's hard to stay friends with somebody who's always pushing against your instincts in the studio. And I wouldn't say he's always pushing against them. There was a lot of times where we'd be really aligned with the way we thought things would go. But it was a fun challenge, and I felt like the right time in my career to listen to somebody else and try things that were against my instincts sometimes. It was a fun process in a different way than I've done it before.
Yeah. Apart from Bluesfest, another Australian connection with you is your Cole Clark guitar.
Oh yeah.
You've been playing for a long time. How did you come across that guitar initially?
Well, early days, Mason was giving me a few guitars, and I had 3 or 4 of those, and then the luthier that was making those started Cole Clark, and they would come down to the show, and they would always sit in the sound booth with the front of house sound with sound engineer Michael Pollock. And Michael really developed a great relationship, even more than myself. And they would talk about pickups, and they would talk about sound waves and all the stuff that I try to understand, but I'm not on their level of understanding. And so I love the fact that they were the ones that became really good friends. And so over the years, they just kept giving me guitars. They were very generous with that. And so we had, the nice thing when you play live is if I play an alternate tuning, I can switch guitars, but it's the same pickup system. And so our sound guy is able to get just a small adjustments to keep things sounding really nice. And so he really respects the way the guitars are built, and especially the pickup system live, which has like a mixture between a microphone and a bridge pickup, and we can get blends on different types of songs. If I'm playing alone, there's certain settings where I can have it that the guitar resonates more, but when I have the drums and bass and everything, we can adjust things so that I don't get feedback on stage. And so it gives us a lot of control, but they're really beautiful looking guitars and they sound great to play off stage too. So I feel, yeah, really lucky. They've been so generous over the years.
Yeah, they've just released a new true hybrid guitar that offers electric and acoustic sounds. You might want to check that one out too.
Oh yeah, cool. I will.
Yeah. How do you document your ideas if you don't have a guitar handy?
You know, nowadays it's nice because we've all got these great little recorders in our pockets. A lot of times I'm pretty cynical about the phones and all the different, technology, but reality is there's certain parts of it that are great tools. And I love the fact I can be anywhere and sing a melody into it. And so my voice memos are just like I can scroll for like half the day and I'll just keep going because I got so many voice memos now. And so I'll start there. And then if an idea seems like if I like the melody a lot, then I'll take it and go into something where I can multi-track and I'll try to layer some things and try harmonies and try a drum beat. And I usually build all the songs alone as demos and then show them to the band, and we'll usually go into the studio. The last 2 albums, I've kind of changed that process. And the one before, All the Light Above It too. So it's called. That one, I decided just to kind of do it all on my own in the studio. It was just a fun, different way to approach it. And then I had the band replace a few things right at the end. It's been the same band since the very beginning, and we still play live together. And then the last record, Blake and I, it was during the pandemic really, so it was partly by necessity of just keeping numbers small, and him and I were able to get together and we played a lot of the instruments. And then right at the end, again, we had the band come in and change a few things, but Blake and I played a majority of the instruments on the last record. And so, yeah, the process for me is really, I used to never write anything down. The first 2 albums, I had a thing where I felt, well, I had no children at the time and I had all the time in the world, I didn't have to kind of think too much about it. But I used to have a theory that if I had to write it down, it was no good. Like if it was good enough, it was going to stick around in my mind and I'd remember it that afternoon. And life has changed a lot since then. I have to write things down and I got to record them or I'll forget them. Too much stuff going on in life now.
Yeah. So what's left for Jack Johnson to do musically? Any bucket list projects?
No, I mean, if I sat here and thought about it for a minute, I think kind of going back to getting to meet people that you respect a lot. It's sometimes I'll be listening to an album and I'll think to myself, man, I would love to say hello to this person. And so sometimes I'll reach out to my friend who's my manager and say, hey, any chance you can give me Todd Snyder's phone number? For instance, that was recently a songwriter I like a lot. And I'll just reach out and just want to let them know how much their music means to me, and sometimes the relationship starts out of that. Sometimes it's that one conversation where it's a thanks and appreciate it and you move on. But it's really nice. Sometimes you develop these friendships when it's people whose music has really affected you in a way. And so I love collaborating. And so I think I'll continue to see if there's people that I respect that I get to work with. It's one of the biggest honors of this whole thing is getting your foot in the door and being able to be in a moment where you get to say hello to these people.
Yeah. Well, Jack, it's been great to chat, and we look forward to seeing you at Easter at Bluesfest back in Australia, and we'll catch you there.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Take care.